Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. It's August 26, 2019, and this is the Kane Kale Show, where we learn to be better artists. My name is Kienan Lafferty, and this microphone is very close to my face, so I should be coming through very clearly. Today, we're going to be doing a tutorial on lighting, specifically how to do dynamic lighting, how to set up a piece for proper lighting, and I'm just going to be showing you guys live how I go about lighting a piece, because we've been doing a lot of PSD walkthroughs where things are all finished, but today I want to get into my actual technique and show you guys live how we do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it without further ado. We have our lovely drawing just completely done here. I'm sure you're curious about how we got to this point. Well, fear not, because we have layer comps. So just quickly getting through the sketch, you can see how I lay down the general gesture lines, right? We're thinking about flow. I'm sure you can see a lot of the flow going through this piece. Refining body pieces, figuring out can the arm actually extend out that far onto the leg? Using reference. Using reference is very good for, especially when I find that body pieces kind of like overlapping each other, like the legs. You know, you can find all kinds of good photos online, so I got that. And then we are cleaning these lines up. Everything's looking good. Oh yeah, specifically back here. Speaking of photo reference, I'm really glad that I brought this up, because originally I was going to have the cat kind of laying next to Mika. You can see it's kind of sleeping, kind of cuddling up next to her. But I realized that it's not only is it not fully in the character of the cat, but yeah, I just wasn't really completely sold on that drawing. So what helped is I looked at an actual photo of a cat, and I got the body. I was like, oh yeah, there's all these subtle things that happen with the body of the cat, and I really want to bring a little bit more realism into the black cat. So I used that photo reference, and we stole it. We stole properly, and we brought it into our piece, made it look awesome. And then last but not least, I went through and got some clean line art. I got to this point. Usually I'll kind of begin painting, but for this exercise, and actually for further exercises, further pieces, I'm experimenting with doing one more kind of clean line art pass. So you can see in here, I'm still using my coveted chalk brush, as you can see, but I'm just going through and just trying to get the lines semi-clean for the most part. And you can see that my general rule for lines is just thick on the outside. You can see there's a thickness here, and then everything on the inside is thin. And if you look through the entire PSD, which you can be following along, I highly recommend you go onto Patreon and download not only this PSD, but all the other PSDs from the past. You can be following along right now, and you can see that that rule holds true. Everything on the silhouette is a nice thick line, and everything on the inside, right? There's some overlap happening right here. There's like thicker lines. Basically, if it has to do with the outer edge of something, I make it a thick line. If it is details, like folds or little kind of intricacies in the metal, I'll make those nice and thin. Okay? So thank you so much for waiting while we got through that starting point. Let's go ahead and get into the lighting, shall we? So let me show you guys how I like to think about my lighting. This is the main thing that I always consider whenever I am lighting a piece. And that is my two main light sources. Well, actually, technically three. But let's just start it from here, okay? So the light sources are going to be as such. And this can be moved around wherever we like, but I'm thinking of something very simple, like a studio lighting. So we're going to have a frontal, right? We're going to have a frontal kind of white warm light that's going to be shining on the entire piece, right? And of course, that's going to light up Mika's face and her clothes and everything. And the black cat is going to be reacting differently to the light. We might not even get to him necessarily. I like how this turned into a mustache. That's really nice, Mika. Then we also have our fill light, or rather our rim light. Rim light is going to be coming from the right side, okay? And that is going to cause all the edges of the character to have a nice rim light. And I'd like this to be a cool color. Why does it have to be a cool color? It doesn't have to be. It could also be a warm color. But in this case, I want it to be kind of like this turquoise-ish color that's coming from the left there. Okay, and then last but not least, we have to consider the third light, right? The third light, which is usually the bounce light, because as this light comes down here, it's going to be lighting up this ground here, and of course it's going to be reflecting up onto all of our characters, okay? So that's our basic lighting setup. Let's go ahead and lower that down, and we can refer back to this. I highly recommend before you start lighting a piece, kind of draw in where your light sources are going to be. and then keep that on a separate layer. Go ahead and minimize that down, and you can refer back to it as you see fit. Okay, so one of the first things that I want you to notice is that with my masks, I've also chosen to make them all very desaturated. I'm thinking about like an ambient light, or in this case, kind of our fill light or our rim light, the thing that is lighting this, the thing that's lighting this wall, this cool light. I'm thinking about how that would interact with all of the colors of the character, leading it to be very desaturated. See, our skin is dark and desaturated. Even the white shirt, right? Look at what color we're actually using. It's brought down, it's dark, and it has hints of blue in it, okay? This is a really good way for you to get started, make all of your colors feel unified. Consider your atmospheric lighting, right? If you're outdoors, oftentimes the atmospheric light is your blue light. And I'm kind of going for a similar thing here, where the blue light is our atmospheric kind of ambient light. Okay, then as we light things, we are going to very quickly see that we are going to push things up, we're going to brighten things up, and we're going to warm them up. See, so we were down here before, we're in this purplish area. Let me go ahead and move this down so you can see it a little bit better. We're in this purplish area, we're going to be moving up, and we're going to be moving towards the warm colors. So let's kind of try something like this. Don't be afraid to get a little crazy with it. Don't be afraid to get a little bit crazy, okay? So here's what we're going to do. I'm thinking that what I usually like to do for my lighting is I like to work with a soft brush just to get started. And I'll show you why. I'll show you why, because you can do stuff like this. Oh yeah, and by the way, you want to make sure you're on your proper layer, right? So we're on skin, as you can see down here. What I like to do is hit Shift-Control-N to create a new layer, and then just title this L, okay? It's going to be light. And then we're going to make this a clipping mask by holding Alt between these two layers and clicking, okay? See how now there's that little arrow pointing back down to it? Basically means that now we are working within the skin and we are lighting the skin only. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so watch what happens here. Watch what happens. We can say, okay, remember where our light was? Light is coming from the top, kind of middle. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the light is going to be affecting the face all through here. It's going to be affecting right through here. It's going to be going all through here. It's going to be hitting the ear there. Not so much on the neck, remember, because the light is being blocked from that angle. We're going to get a lot of light in this area. We're going to get some lights in this area. And then as the fingers go down, as the knuckles go down, we might see a little bit of light get caught there. Maybe a little bit of light get caught right there. And light get caught right there. Here's the cool part about having your light on its own layer and having your ambient shadows already figured out. Now watch what happens. We can now consider cast shadows. Take your soft brush, right? Go to your eraser and choose that soft brush as your eraser and go through and begin carving back, right? You are technically erasing now the lights that you've laid in to create cast shadows. Oh, isn't that awesome? Wow, so efficient. So efficient. And if you don't like it, right, you can just add that light back in, right? Now you are effectively lighting your character. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I just love how simple and easy this is. And I know what you're thinking right now. I know what you're thinking is that, well, yeah, that's nice, Keenan, but there's too much contrast here. There's too much contrast that's happening. It just goes from like this bright, bright kind of peach flesh color to like this desaturated, purple. What about subsurface scattering? What about light transition? You're not teaching me how to deal with that. Actually, I am going to teach you how to do that, and I'm going to teach you a very, very simple way to do that. Okay? So follow along with me here. Okay. In fact, before we get to that, I don't want to spoil the surprise just yet because I want to light both the face and the hair, because once we have both of those done, this trick is gonna look really good. Okay. So same thing. Remember, the nose itself has a cast shadow. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Okay. A little bit of cast shadow there. Nothing too crazy. All right, and then we kind of bring it to right there. I'm going to bring a little bit of shading to the edge of the face like this, all right, just to kind of show the rounding of the face that's happening there. Anime faces are really weird because they have all kinds of strange things happening with the geometry. They technically don't make sense. They kind of defy a little bit of the laws of physics, but I'm trying to get better at figuring out how to deal with that, okay? So we might have something like that. In fact, yeah, for this tutorial, let's focus on the face and the hair. Next up, let's go ahead and do the same thing on the hair. Let's go ahead and move to that. Shift-Control-N. What do? Name it L, right? Or you can name it whatever you like, and then clip it back. Whoops, Wrong thing. Clip it back. Let's go ahead and choose, right? We have our dark desaturated color for the hair. We want to punch this baby up. Punch this baby up. That sounds kind of wrong. I don't want to punch a baby. That's very bad. We want to kick this baby. No. You know what I mean. We're going to kick it up a notch. Kick it up a notch. That's what I'm talking about. Now we're talking hot sauce. Now we're talking hot sauce, okay? Now go ahead and just light your hair the same way. I find don't worry so much about like making little shapes and like doing this type of thing. Just kind of like start broad and allow the edges. What I like is allowing the edges of the soft brush to create little gradients, right? It's automatically creating little gradients for you. And it is making your hair look nice. It's making it look very, very nice, okay? And in this case, for example, I wanted the hair to be a little bit brighter than her skin tone. Oh yeah, here's the other really cool thing that I like about this is that not only can we say, okay, cast shadow, boom, right there from the visor. Cast shadow, done, done and done. Cast shadow from that piece, done. Cast shadow there, done. Very, very simple, easy ways to kind of carve out and get some good shading going on your piece. But I totally forgot the other thing I was going to say. But that's okay, because we are continuing with this, and it's looking good. I got way too excited about... See, it's just so easy to do this. How can you not get excited? How can you not get excited about easy lighting? Easy lighting. And, oh, I remember what I was going to say. Here's what I was going to say, is that let's say that you are lighting your piece, and you come to a point where you say, oh, okay, well, this is cool. Like, I feel like this is definitely like feeling like 3D, and I'm really getting some forms in there. I'm getting some forms with my lighting, but I don't like the colors. Maybe the colors look weird together. Or maybe you chose like a way desaturated color, and now it looks really weird next to, actually that looks cool too. But here's what I'm saying, is that you can change the color on the fly. You can say, okay, maybe I want my shadows to be a little bit more saturated. Oh, wow, that actually look really cool. Maybe I want to change the hue of it. And you can, on the fly, begin to figure out what color do I want my shadows to be and what color do I want my lights to be, okay? And you can get yourself something that's looking pretty dang good. However, for this, again, I find that keeping your shadows desaturated and your lights also semi-desaturated leads to a really cool effect. And here's what I'm going to show you now. We're going to jump into subsurface scattering as well as light transition, and it's going to make your piece look freaking awesome, okay? Are you all set? Here's what you're going to do. So once you've got a lighting setup that you like, what I want you to do is control click on that light layer. What's going to happen is it's going to say, okay, I have selected all of the light on this layer. And or basically it's just like, it's got it selected with the magic wand, okay? Then you're gonna go up to select, and you're gonna go to modify, and you're gonna go to expand. And here, what I like to do is I will expand it to, I don't know, whatever seems good. It will depend on your canvas size as well as your resolution, but let's expand it by like 10 pixels. See what that does. Interesting. Okay, so we've expanded our selection. What I'm going to do is I am going to choose something. This is kind of going into the color boomerang theory. Remember what we talked about with color boomerang is that lights and shadows can be desaturated, but on transitions, that's when we move to the right. That is when we saturate and we move to something that might be like this, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to choose that color and you're going to go edit, fill, or shift F5. Hit OK. Boom! Oh, whoops. Forgot about the most important thing. You need to make a new layer behind that. Make a new layer, name it L2. Right, so now you should have two pointing back to each other. Go ahead and fill that. And look at what we've just done. We have added in a layer of subsurface. We've added in a layer of subsurface. Look at that, going from there to there, there to there. And it's immediately beginning to fill in and give us a different look for our drawing. And I really, really love doing this to get started with my lights. And now you can also adjust this on the fly. You can adjust this on the fly. And now you have, look at that, a cool transition. Cool transition going from your lights to your shadows. Oh, isn't that awesome? Let's go ahead and do it on the hair as well. Let's go ahead and not mess this up and do it right this time. L2, right? We're going to go ahead and select our light here by control clicking. We are going to expand that. Let's expand it by the same amount. I really liked how that turned out. Let's expand, modify, expand, 10 pixels. Boom. And now we're going to choose, right? Let's go ahead and pick our light color. Pick the light color. Here's how I like to kind of basically estimate what color is going to look good. Is I'll grab that color, I'll darken it a little bit and pull it to the right. Okay, and you can also hue shift it a little bit towards purple, right? Because remember, our shadows are purple. So we're trying to find that kind of mid transitionary kind of stage. Okay, edit fill, boom, done. Done. And don't worry if you didn't pick the right color, because look, it's so easy. Just hit Control U and you can go in there and you can modify it to be whatever you'd like. Modify it to be whatever you like. And again, you'll probably have to go in there and make minor adjustments and change things up and go about, you know, actually painting the dang thing. But this is a great way to get started, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this piece using this technique. And yeah, I'll just continue. I'll focus on this face and I'll try to get this face in. And yeah, I probably won't have time to get to the cat, but I just want you guys to watch how I go about doing this stuff. And there will be points where it looks a little bit off. Like I'd say I look at these fingers and it looks a little strange, but overall it's totally fine. And it gives you, again, a great start to your piece. And it's a great way to experiment with lighting. I think that's really what this is all about, is I want you guys to start getting comfortable with experimenting with your lighting. Okay, so that's enough talking. Let's get to walking. I'm going to go ahead and light this hat. I'm going to light this hat in a similar way. And this will probably bring up something else that has to do with things that might not have as much of a transitionary color, or something that is, you know, almost desaturated on its own. Watch how I pick this light color. See, I'm kind of going up. I'm already moving it towards a warmer color. So that looks pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and light this hat. Whoops. Don't forget to clip it back, otherwise that'll happen. See, we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm thinking about where that light would drop off. So the light would probably go right about there. That's looking pretty dang good. Yeah, it's looking good. Let's go ahead and head to black 2, and I want to light this as well. Clip that back. Let's go ahead and set this up. Now, here's the interesting thing, is that, you know, the soft brush doesn't always get the job done, because you have to consider like things like anisotropic, yeah, that's what it is, anisotropics. Right, that's where things create bands of light. Let's say that this visor was anisotropic. So instead of having a smooth shadow, it's going to have like a band of light across it. And, you know, so you need to consider like that type of stuff, okay? And that is also going to come into play with your hair. So let's go ahead and go to the hair again, and let's add in some anisotropic to that. Let's just call this highlight. Another word for this is, yes, highlight. Highlight. And I like to just go ahead and clip it back. Let's go ahead and get this thing kicked up a notch. Kicked up a notch. And then I just kind of throw in, really with anisotropics, it's really fun to just kind of find a shape that feels really cool, right? You're really just designing shapes here. And then again, make sure it doesn't go too far into the shadow, right? Because obviously it doesn't do that. Sometimes I'll make little cuts through it like that. Makes it look really nice. And there you have a good old shiny hairpiece. Okay, a good start to a shiny hairpiece. Awesome, yeah? Very cool, very, very cool. Let's go ahead and let's see here. Oh, we need to also consider about our bounce lighting. We should get into bounce lighting, as well as minor changes that you can make in the shadows. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into that, because I want to show you guys. Actually, no, let's not do that yet. Let's not do that yet, because I want to light her shoulders and kind of her chest area, and then we'll call it good, because I really want to light this white part as well. So let's go ahead and find the white area. Another easy way to find your layers if it's getting too muddled in this area is grab your move tool. That's the top left tool. And then right click on this, and then you'll see it will pull up the closest, it'll pull up the closest layers that you could be clicking on. And we are just, in fact, having to look for white. So let's go ahead and create an L, a lighting layer for that. Let's go ahead and fill in some white. Okay, so for this, I'm going to desaturate, and we're going to push up to that point, okay? We're going to go ahead and light it like this. Light it like that. Super easy. I actually want to push this like mega warm. So let's go ahead and push this to like yellow maybe. Maybe something like this. Maybe like greenish. Ooh, yeah, that looks cool. That looks cool. And again, don't worry, because if you get it wrong, easy to change, easy to change. And that's what I am really wanting you all to understand today, is that this is all about experimentation. I want you all to get comfortable with, because I've taught color boomerang before, but the problem with that is that it relied too much on you. Like I was teaching a lot of like, hey, here's kind of how to get it, instead of setting you up a lab, right? I like to think of it as like a color lab where you can experiment for yourself and use the sliders to your advantage, and you can find relationships that work well with one another. And then you can ask yourself, why does that work? Why does that work? And then you can really begin learning and remembering that for a future time. Okay, so I'm just kind of like throwing in shapes here, things that look good, considering just generally, would the light hit that area? And the answer is yes. The answer is, in fact, yes. It'd probably look like that right there, yeah. And just pay attention to how cool, like just lighting things really helps to bring out the shapes of your character. Looks beautiful, looks beautiful. Let's go ahead and continue. I want to finish up the black of her dress here. That is going to be right there. So let's go ahead and throw that in. We're going to have a shadow right there. We're going to have some shadows right up in here. It's looking good. Looking very good. Awesome. Awesome. Let's go ahead and light the rest of it. Okay, you might notice that I made this black part into two separate layers. There is a reason for that. It's because I want to be able to work on this sleeve and see, like, if I was lighting this and then it spilled over. If I was lighting this and then it spilled over into this, it's like, it's hard to light, you know, something that is in front of. Whenever there's overlap, I'll tend to make a separate mask for it. It makes things a lot more simple, organized, and therefore it will probably save your life, okay? So definitely do that. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and light this up. All right, again, start big, no problem with starting big. And then go ahead and say, okay, if that light was hitting here, where would that face cover? It would cover here. This whole part would be in shadow. This part might be in a little bit of shadow, right? This part is overlapping. This part, maybe there's like a little fold here, right? That looks like crap. Let's go ahead and fix that. There we go. Maybe there's a little fold here. You kind of go through here like that. Yeah, so again, a great way for you to experiment and get the ball rolling. Get the ball rolling. Because I find that too often lighting is a scary thing, okay? Don't worry. If you are scared of lighting your piece, don't worry, because it is something that all artists struggle with. All artists struggle with this stuff, including me. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to figure out a way to make it as painless as possible. Make it more about fun. Make it more about experimentation. Making it also a way that if you muck it up, you can go back and fix it, okay? Most importantly, if you mess it up, you can go back and fix it, okay? So that's looking pretty good to me right there. Cool. And then you might be asking, well, Keenan, how come you're not doing the transition on these? How come you're not doing the transition on the black part? And I totally could. I could do that if I wanted to control click it. And then let's make a new layer. Let's just see what it looks like. Sometimes I tend to do more of those transitionary colors in places of high subsurface scattering. So I do it a lot in the face. I'll do it a lot in the hair. Places where light would enter and really bounce around. On clothes, it's not needed as much. But let's go ahead and see what that would actually look like. Modify, expand 10 pixels. And let's go ahead and pick something that is not crazy saturated. Maybe you're right about there. Fill it. And see, that actually looks pretty dang cool too. I actually really like that. Really like it. Really like it. So yeah, I think that works pretty well. Let's go ahead and, okay, so one of the reasons why this is looking a little bit off is because we've begun to light everything, but we haven't lit the eyes. So let's go ahead and get in there and light those eyes ASAP. Light those eyes ASAP. Where is the white color? There we go. Boom. Now, because we already chose a color for our white color, we should be able to easily just drop in there, drop the eye color in there. Boom, easy. Don't forget that cast shadow. Don't forget that cast shadow from the eyelid. That's why there's that little, you ever notice when you look at anime characters and that little blue line is right there in the white part of the eye? Because of cast shadows, right? Gives the eye depth. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Okay, so we are looking quite nice. Mika is looking very pretty already. Very, very pretty already. And just as a, let's see if we can actually go back on this. Is there a way to go back? Oh, yes, there is. Oh, wait, this is way before I masked everything. Well, just as a point of reference, you can see from here to here, we're looking pretty dang good. Actually, I think we can go back. We can go back in time. If I just create this, let's title it light. Let's go back to masked. Okay, cool. Yeah, so now you can compare and contrast. See, our lighting is coming into play. We're adding lights to the piece, and it's already looking pretty dang cool. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Okay, but I want to finish up with this face, and then I want to jump into, yes, reflected light, and then we're going to do a little bit of line coloring. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of a taste of how the final piece could look. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's finish lighting these eyes and lips, because those are bothering me to no end. Let's go ahead and light the iris. I'm going to go ahead and kick this up like that. Very good. For the eye, or for the pupil, where is the pupil at? Where is the pupil at? Well, when in doubt, we can go ahead and do this. There we go. There's pupil. Let's go ahead and lock that down. Sometimes I don't always make a lighting layer. Sometimes I'll just kind of wing it. I'll just kind of lock the layer and just kind of throw a color in there like that. Okay, so there we go. Got a little bit of light on there. Looking cool, looking cool. Let's go ahead and light that lip as well. I don't want that lip to be as dark. I think that was on, sometimes I'll combine my layers, like in this instance. Lip is also on hair too. It's just because the colors are similar, and I find it, the less layers I can have, the better. Less layers I can have, the better. Kind of keeps me sane. Kind of light that up a little bit. Okay, so that is where we stand for the moment. Okay, but we want to talk about a little bit of reflected light, because remember in our early setup we talked about, yes, we have our main light at the front, but then we also have reflected light coming from the bottom, and then we also need to add in a little bit of that light on the side, a little bit of the rim lighting. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's start with the reflected light because that will be easy to deal with. Let's go ahead and go to the skin. Let's go to the skin. Is there anywhere where this would really be, let's see, maybe that might not be the best thing, because in order for us to have some reflected light, we also need to consider how the light would bounce off of this part right here. So let's go ahead and light this really quickly. Let's go ahead and light this really quick. So let's go ahead and lay this down. Let's make this nice and bright. We're going to make this nice and bright. There we go. And then it's very easy for us to, oh, whoops. I should have put that on its own layer, but you know what? I don't care. I don't care anymore, okay? We're going to go ahead and just light this down, or put the shadows in here. In fact, we can put the shadows on another layer. Why not? I am the ruler of this kingdom, and I can change the rules at any time. And now we're adding in shadows. We're drawing in shadows rather than light, okay? So we'll just kind of lay these in just in general, just to get a general feel of how we want this to look. Okay, easy, easy peasy. Now we're ready for reflected light. Booyah! Booyah, let's go ahead and get into it. In fact, we can talk about it right here. Let me show you on this leg, because this is probably where it would be coming in the most. I personally like to put my reflected lights on the same mask. Like, say this is representing the shadows. I'll just lock the layer by hitting this little checkerboard right here. I'll just lock the layer. And then I'll just kind of paint in the reflected light as such, like that, okay? You can go ahead and throw in a little bit of reflected light right there. And the reason why I like to do this is because, look, it automatically will just color only the shadows. Colors only the shadows. It doesn't go into your, lights. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool, no? In fact, I'm going to go ahead. You lose a little bit of control. Like, you won't be able to, if you want to be able to change the colors on the fly of your reflected lights, then yes, you can make this another layer. In fact, just for the sake of argument, we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to call this RL, reflected light. Okay, we're going to go ahead and throw in stuff like that, okay, and maybe there'll be a little bit here, just a little bit, like right there. In fact, the reflected light would be more pink right here because the pink of the hair is reflecting onto this hat. Okay, now usually what I like to do is I'll grab that color and I'll kind of darken it down a little bit to get your reflected light. Keep in mind, it is a diminished value. It's a diminished value of whatever is reflecting onto it. Okay, so you might have something like that. And see, once you start adding in reflected lights, now your piece all of a sudden starts taking on a whole new dimension, and it feels great, feels fine, feels this way all the time. Okay, now last we're going to go ahead and jump into the hair. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of rim lighting on that hair, specifically this hair that's in shadow. Let's go ahead and pull in our blue light. Remember, this is going to be our desaturated bluish light. There's so many things that are going on here, and it's really awesome. So we can call this RL as well for rim light, or maybe you should call it something else, but regardless, we're going to call it rim light. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pull this a little bit more towards blue, and our rim light is going to take on a shape of sort of like this. And again, it is just going to be affecting the edges, okay? Just the edges of our hair. And because this is on its own layer, right? It's on its own layer, so now you can change not only the intensity of it, but you can also change the color of it. Say maybe that color looks a little bit better. I think that one does look better because the blue light would be mixing with Mika's pink hair, creating a little bit more of a purplish color, a little bit more of a purpley value, purpley kind of color range. It's looking pretty dang good. Pretty dang good, yeah. Okay. The other place where this rim light would be really showing is on the anisotropic of the visor. So let's go ahead and go to that as well. What the heck? Where is this? There we go. And again, I'm just going to do this on the same layer because I'm awesome. And I can make up my own rules, okay? So we're just going to add in a little bit of that. That looks way too bright. Way too bright. We're going to go ahead and darken that down. Oh, so much better. So much better. Thank you. Thank you, Mika. Okay, now that we've gotten our character lit, let's go ahead and do a couple little minor adjustments. And then we're going to jump into a little bit of line coloring. And I'm going to show you guys how we finish this off. Oh, yeah. The last thing that I want to do is I want to play around a little bit more with this light, okay? Because I want the lighting for this piece. I imagine this light back here was going to be a lot more intense. So we're going to go ahead and just kick this up to this color. Boom. Hey, that looks pretty dang cool. And then I want to have a fall off color. I want to have a fall off color. So remember how we do that? Control click that light. In this case, that's not working because I totally made the light different. Totally made the light different on that piece. So let's see, how are we going to do this? Maybe we can click the shadow. Ah, the shadow works. The shadow works, and what we're going to do is, because what you want to do is make sure that you have that line selected. I'm going to Shift Control I this, which is going to invert it, and that gives us just our light there. Okay? It gives us just our light. Oh, but it's selecting this part too. That might mess that up. Okay. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go ahead and just grab my lasso and I'm going to deselect everything underneath here. Okay? Just so we have this part. Because what I really want to do is I just want to expand this thing. Is it too much to ask? Okay? We've expanded it by 10 pixels. I want to expand it a little more. Oh, and then I want to show you another really cool thing that you can do, another possible treatment for your lighting. I want to, let's expand that one more time. And by the way, if you would like to do this quicker, a way that you can set this up is you can set up a hotkey in your Actions tab, which is exactly what I've done. You can see here, expand. I've set it to F3, okay? And the way that you do that, actually, I might as well just show you. Let me just show you, right? This is a live tutorial. We're getting into it. Let's say that you have your perfect little thing. You have your perfect little thing selected and you're ready to expand. What you're going to do is you're going to go to Actions. In fact, I'll just delete this, right? The one that I have currently. We're going to create a new action. And you do that by clicking this thing right here, New Layer. is new action. Oh, let me go ahead and lower this down so you can actually see the actions. Boom. There we go. We're in Actions tab. If you can't see it, just go to Window and select Actions. That will bring it up. We're going to create a new action. We're going to call this Expand. Oh, Expand. And we're going to name that. I like to choose F3 for yours, but choose whatever key works best for you. Okay, and then we are going to hit record. Okay, make sure that, what is that? Shortcut for this action will hide the shortcut for the copy command. I don't understand what that means. Regardless, hit record, and then make sure your selection is selected, right? Because technically it's recording all your actions. What you're going to do is you're going to go to select expand. Okay, and then I just like to set it to 1 pixel. Boom. Done, and then when you're done, head on over to the right side and click the stop button. And then what you'll see now is when you hit F3, oh, it is expanding right before your very eyes every time you hit F3. Okay? Now, what you'll do is just go ahead and hit fill. Fill. Boom. Oh, whoops. New layer. Fill that. Fill that. Actually, wait a minute. I just realized why this is going to not work exactly the way that it should. We need to fill on the shadow layer. We need to fill on the shadow layer. So we need to go boom, because the shadow is actually ahead of us, or it's set up so that way it's in front of us. And then we need to clip it back. Okay, so here's what we do. Light that. Let's choose a different color so that way it's very clear what's happening. Sorry, I know I totally just confused you guys with this. I was meaning for this to work a lot more smoothly. But basically, we've created this layer, and we're going to clip it back to the shadow. So see, what we have now is we have our light, we have our transitionary color, and then we have our shadow. Okay? Now, here's the thing that I wanted to show you. Is that let's say that you created your transitionary color and you wanted to have it be a little bit more soft. You can go to Filter, you can go to Gaussian Blur, and you can begin to kind of blur it. And you can get, again, another cool little effect on your shadows. And then go ahead and play around with that color to get something that you like. I think that looks pretty nice. I think that looks pretty dang nice. Okay? And now you have a cool looking lighting on your piece. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into line coloring, because line coloring is the thing that takes us from basically this thing looking like a comic book to softening the lines and making things look a lot more attractive, a lot more nice. And we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So let's go ahead and create a new layer over top of our lines. So you should have some nice, fairly clean lines, right? Click them off. This is what your character looks like. See how when you take away your lines, your character looks kind of nice already? It's because your lines have been softened. They're technically lighter. They're brighter. Okay? You're relying less on them to tell, kind of create the shapes of your character. And coloring the lines simultaneously makes it look nicer and also softens everything. So we're going to create a new layer, call it color, and we are going to begin line coloring. So for this, I like to basically think about my lines as the lines are a darker version of whatever color is next to it. Okay, so if we have pink, what we do is let's just go ahead and darken it down and create kind of like this dark pink. Don't go too saturated with it. Somewhere kind of in the middle. I think a little bit of saturation looks really nice. You can go ahead and just begin line coloring. And what's cool is if you mess it up and you want it to go back to where it was, you want it to get darker again, just go ahead and erase. See, it's very, very subtle what's happening here, but trust me, it's going to pay dividends in the future, okay? So invest now, invest in your future, and be happy then, okay? So we're going to go ahead and color these lines, coloring away, Easy, a little bit of overflow is natural. It's going to look a little bit weird in parts, right? Like in here, you'll need to have a darker color because we're in shadow now. Let's go ahead and add some shadows into there. I find that reds look really, really nice on areas of the skin. Reds look really nice in the areas of the skin. But for areas like here with the hat, let's go ahead and just make it kind of like this lighter gray color. Let's go ahead and lighten this up, right? Where this kind of reflected light is hitting, where this hair is hitting, especially because it's in the background. We want to make this very, very light. We can even push it to be like this color, right? And again, see, a little bit of overflow is natural. You can go back in and kind of clean that up. You can even create additional layers. And just layer your line coloring, okay? But regardless, I'm trying to do this in an efficient manner, so that way we can actually get through this before lunchtime because I am very hungry. I am very, very hungry. I'm sure you guys are too. For those of you who have me up on your monitor while you're working, thank you. I appreciate that you guys would want to hang out with me during your work time. It means so much. I know that's what I always did whenever I would go to work. I would always have like streams or like video games or just people that I enjoyed watching on my other monitor. It was always really nice. So if I'm there right now, I just want to say thank you. That is a very sacred place. It's a very sacred place for you to have me. Let's go ahead and continue with this. Oh, it's looking nice. It's looking really, really, really nice. Okay, try to stay away from straight blacks. Straight blacks tend to look like comic books. Remember, all shadows tend to have a little bit of color in them, right? Let your lines have life. Let your lines have life. In the areas of deep, dark shadow, you can go ahead and push it to a much darker color, like this. But yeah, try to stay away from going straight to absolute dark abyss black, okay? Keep your pictures lively. Okay, we're gonna go ahead on these light colors, on these white colors. You can get a little bit more bright with it, like this, as such. See how when I put too much brightness in there, actually that doesn't look bad. Again, experimentation. Experimentation. This is another reason why I'm glad to do live drawings with you guys every now and then, because I want you to see not only my experimentation, but, you know, mistakes, how many times I'll redo things, how much I rely on things like filters and things like that. And speaking of filters, I do have something to show you guys. For those of you who stuck around this long, you guys are going to get a little surprise at the end. You guys are going to get a surprise at the end of this episode. Whereas everybody else who was way too impatient and left early, they're not going to get their surprise. They're not going to get it. But yeah, speaking of filters, I'm going to be giving you guys a present. But that is for just a moment. Let's see, how long have we been going, by the way? 40 minutes. I think we need to be finishing this up pretty soon. That was about how long I wanted this tutorial to be, about 40 minutes. Seems pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and color these hands. See how much life that adds to your lines, especially in the flesh areas. As soon as you add red to it, it just looks so nice. Looks so, so nice. In fact, in here on the lip, I like to, specifically in areas where there's like blush or like a lip, something like that, I'll tend to push these like mega, mega bright. Mega bright. Almost to the point where they begin to blend in a little bit with the rest of the piece. Or blend in with the rest of the colors. And see? So we've gone from this to this. See how it's lightening things up? It's allowing things to be softer. It's allowing things to be a little bit more nice and easy on the eyes. That is how you light, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you light. Let's go ahead and compare back to where we started. Boom. That's where we started. And now we have arrived. We have arrived at this point. The lip is strangely lit right there. I don't know why that is, but regardless, we can go back and forth, back and forth. Now you have yourself a lovely piece that's coming together. And basically what I will do as moving forward in the future, let's talk about where I would go from here. Basically, I would get this drawing to a point where I liked the colors, I liked the lighting that was happening within it, and then I would finally go into what I like to call OP mode or overpaint mode. This is the point where I take my chalk brush and now I'll really begin, I just overpaint everything. And I'll just begin blending. This is a personal preference as well. You don't have to do this. You technically could have your piece be a lot more clean and not do overpaints. But I personally love getting in there. I love getting in there and like kind of cleaning things up, or not cleaning things up. I guess at this point I'm kind of messing things up, but I'm adding additional kind of colors and depth to the piece. Okay, and that could be by doing this. Could be by kind of painting in the eye. I don't know. Again, a lot of this is additional experimentation. I'd also probably like kind of color these eyes a little bit to kind of blend into the eyelash. I love it when anime eyes do that. And I like Mika's eyes specifically to be a little bit more mysterious. So a little bit of darkness in the eyes is always very welcome. Might even add in a little bit of like a specular type of thing like that at the end. So yeah, this is a point for me to really begin kind of like honing in what the final look of the piece is going to be. And that's the OP stage. Okay, so as I said, there is going to be a present for you guys. And yes, first I want to say, yes, this entire PSD will be downloadable on Patreon for those of you who are pledging and supporting customers and patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. But as always, I want to say thank you for everyone who has just been watching and telling their friends about it, and most importantly, continuing your own journey and allowing me to influence you, inspire you, get you out of your art ruts. For those of you who do fan art and who take these lessons to heart, I want to say thank you. And that is by, again, giving away a free PSD. Hey, how about that? So this is going to be the free PSD of the month. It is my birth month, so it's an extra present from me to you. And yes, just my way of saying thank you. And I was saying filters because as you go through this PSD, which I'm sure you're going to download because it's free, you are going to download this and you're going to look at, oh my gosh, look at all of these adjustments and overpaints, and wow, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. There's a lot of stuff that goes into creating this. Oh wow, look at this. Oh my gosh, this piece started like that. Look at how messy it is. Look at how messy it is, and look at how much overpaints and things that I will do to kind of clean up a piece. And I'm hoping this opens your eyes. I'm hoping this opens your eyes to that your drawings don't always have to be perfect. In fact, I probably could have taken my own advice and not had this be so clean, but I've been experimenting a lot more with kind of clean line art styles. A lot of my clients lately have been, I find that there's no arguing that clean line art does look professional. It does look like, it does look pristine. However, I personally always struggle with it in my personal work because it tends to look slightly sterile, and I'm trying to find where is the midpoint between clean line art and clean lighting. And something that is more like this, where it looks more painterly. It doesn't look as clean, doesn't look as necessarily like professional grade or like AAA, as some people will call it. But I personally love it. I love it when I can look at a piece like this and I can see emotion in it. I can see the artist behind it. I can see the brush strokes and the movements and the deliberate kind of experimentation in the shapes. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and end today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, please feel free to download. And if you enjoy the free PSDs, right now there's 2 of them on there. There's one from this month as well as one from last month. I plan on releasing free PSDs every month from here on out just to say my thanks to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Instagram. And yes, last but not least, laced? Did I say laced? Let's get laced up, lace up your shoes, and we're going to go ahead and hit this play button on the song, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the Instagram. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. If you're playing World of Warcraft, the classic, hope to see you on there. I promise I'll keep doing shows. I'm not retiring just yet. I'll see you soon. Till next time, stay awesome. And look at these beautiful pieces. Look at these beautiful pieces on the Insta. Get your stuff on here. Now. You have no excuse. I just showed you how to light stuff. Man, there's some great lighting on here. Man, you guys don't even need me. What am I thinking? I truly do love seeing how you guys have improved over the years. Man, it's so amazing to me. So amazing to me. Oh, I just saw a made of metal piece. I'm going to go back and look at that. Thank you so much for all the made of metal pieces. I try to make it a goal of mine to get on there and make sure to like and comment on every single made of metal piece that I see. Please continue. It makes me smile from ear to ear every time I see it. Keep it up. Keep it up. And I'm hoping to finish up this piece and post it on the Instagram here pretty soon. Pretty dang soon.